Hello, ladies. I'm Jessica. I'm your junior league host. We are still expecting quite a bit more people, so we're going to wait a couple more minutes, give some people time to check in or sign in. I can give you your check-in code so you can check in on the Digital Cheetah app. The check-in code is 178362, and I will put that in the chat for you to have. Again, we're going to give a couple more minutes so people can get signed in. All right, ladies, I think we will go ahead and get started. Again, I will put the check-in code in the chat and you can just message me if you need help signing in. But welcome to the training for planning a magical Disney vacation. I'm sure most of us are ready to get out of the house after being stuck in it for a year. We have Shannon here with us tonight from Spirit of Adventure Travel. She's going to tell us everything we need to know about going to Disney. So Shannon, I will hand the floor over to you.
Thank you, Jessica. Hello, everybody. I saw a few familiar names when you were signing on, so it's fun to see some old friends and maybe meet some new ones. I appreciate you all taking some time out of your cold evening to talk about someplace a little bit more warm and sunny and magical. So I really appreciate it. To give you a little bit of background on me, and why you maybe feel like you're getting training from me. you know, back in kindergarten when you did those exercises of what do you want to be when you grow up? And most of the kids in the class said fireman or policeman or ballerina or a teacher, maybe. Well, mine was Minnie Mouse. And I like to think that I'm not too far off of that trajectory that I had planned for myself at age 6. So when I was at Kansas State University studying to get my degree in business, I did my college internship at Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida. So I did their Disney College program, if you've ever heard anybody reference that. So I lived there for a semester. I worked at a full service sit down restaurant in the Grand Floridian Resort. I also took a couple classes through the Disney College program, as well as going through their cast member training program. And I think that's important to mention because it gave me a really great insight to see how Disney trains each and every employee, whether they are a, semester long intern or if they plan to be with the company for 30 some years, they really invest the time to train their employees. And that's why they're known for their customer service. So I try to take what I learned there as a cast member and impart that in my business when I work with clients, and just really be an extension of the Disney Travel Company. I also had the opportunity about 6 years ago to attend a Disney Institute training, which if you're not familiar with the Disney Institute, I highly recommend you look them up. You can follow them on LinkedIn or anything like that. It's where Disney offers professional development training on things like leadership, customer service, hiring and training, all sorts of business related topics. Because while when you think of Disney, you might think of your favorite animated movie, or you might think of Minnie Mouse, or you might think of just going to Walt Disney World. The Disney company as a whole has been very, very successful for a lot of reasons. And one of those, I think, is the approach that they take to hiring, why they're called cast members and not employees. I mean, that sends a big message right there. And just what masters they are of storytelling. When you go to a Disney theme park, you're not just going to a glorified worlds of fun. You are truly seeing the magic of Disney and the storytelling and the Imagineering that goes into each one of these parks, the individual lands, the smells, the sights, the music, the ground you're walking on. Everything has been meticulously thought out by somebody. And the more that you are aware of those things, I think the more that you appreciate it. But the really fantastic thing is that you may not always realize it. Some of those changes are so subtle that you're so immersed in it when you're walking through, that they've just really become masters of their craft. And so I think that that's a really exceptional part of Disney as well. So then fast forward, about 4 years ago now, I started my own business, which is Spirit of Adventure Travel, as Jessica mentioned. And we are a travel agency that specializes in only Disney destinations. So what that means is that we do Disney Cruise Line, Disney World, Disneyland, Aulani, which is a Disney resort in Hawaii. We also do Adventures by Disney, which goes all over the world. And we can also book Disneyland Paris. While I have personally traveled even to Hong Kong Disneyland, China just has different trade agreements, and so we don't book any of the Asian ones like Shanghai or Hong Kong, but we can book Paris for you as well. So as I mentioned in the little summary, I have been to Walt Disney World over 27 times, and I say over 27 because we went almost every day when I was on the college program internship. Even if we just walked in and rode, rock and roller coaster and then left and went to work that evening, that's what we did. So it allowed me to try all types of snacks and restaurants and find all the shortcuts and the tips and tricks. And it's really become my second home, if you will. We now have a 4-year-old son, and so our vacations look a little bit different, but it's provided me a lot of great insight as to how you can travel now with young ones to Disney as well, and just what a different but still very magical and memorable experience that can be. So sometimes people ask me, why do you only specialize in Disney destinations? Maybe they had a great experience with me booking a Disney vacation and they said, oh, you know what? I'm just sick of the snow. We want to travel to an all-inclusive in Dominican Republic. Can you help us with that? While I could do that, technically I'm allowed to per my booking number and everything like that. But I don't feel like it really fits my mission and my passion. And I feel like I would be doing my clients a disservice. There's a lot of data and research behind specializing in something and how not casting a wider net is often beneficial to your business. So I've really chose to go down that path. If any of you are familiar with proof positioning, I highly recommend looking them up as well. They do a lot of really insightful research, and they're here locally in Kansas City. And I listened to Grant, the owner, speak one time, and he talked about how the more specialized you are in something, the more of an expert you are seen, and the more that people want to come to you for that specific thing. Think about it. You wouldn't go to a podiatrist because your neck hurts, or you wouldn't go to a chiropractor because you had a heart murmur. There's certain things that you specialize in, and then you go to a specialist for because they have that extra level of experience and knowledge, and ultimately you trust them a little bit more. So Disney is really where my trust and my passion comes in. Again, I personally travel there at least once a year. Sometimes we go more than that, depending on the year. Again, as I mentioned before, they're just known in the customer service and the travel industry for trust. I trust that if I send a client there, I know that the room is going to be clean. I know that the, COVID protocols that they have in place right now are going to be enforced. I trust that it's going to be a safe experience. I trust that it's going to be a good experience, that if something maybe doesn't go according to plan, I trust that the cast members will take care of my clients. And I think that is a big thing for me. I want to make sure that once I hand my clients off and they get on the plane, that I am not losing sleep at night thinking, oh, what's going to happen? What are they going to walk into? I just trust that Disney's going to take care of them because I've seen it time and time again, and that's what they're known for. So that's a little bit about me and why I choose to specialize in Disney. So again, while I can book any Disney destination, cruise lines, amazing. I would love to talk more on that. Alani in Hawaii is open. I wish I was in Hawaii right now looking at white sandy beaches instead of a yard full of white snow. But today we're going to talk about Walt Disney World because that is what's open. That's what you're here for. That's ultimately what everybody thinks of when you just say a Disney vacation. So while some of these tips will be universal to any Disney vacation that you may have, obviously, again, today we're going to focus on Walt Disney World. And if we were doing this presentation even 1 year ago, it would sound very, very different, which I'm sure a lot of you could say about any of your jobs. But the last year has definitely been a game changer for us, and a lot has changed. But again, I think a big perk of working with someone that specializes in Disney destinations is that I know all the changes that are going on. Even if you went exactly a year ago today, things are drastically different than they were a year ago. So I stay up to date on all the knowledge, all the rules, all the procedures, what's changing, what's coming, what's opening, what's not still open, all that good stuff to try to keep my clients up to date on the latest policies and procedures that are going on right now. So one of which, obviously, that we're all aware of is mask wearing. So that is something that is enforced on all Disney properties and in the parks is mask wearing. Unless you are stationary and eating and drinking, they do require you to wear a mask. And so my first tip is, I'm going to give you guys 5 kind of key tips here. So my first tip is to pack multiple masks. That may seem silly. People say, oh, 1 a day, that should be fine, right? We're not going to reuse masks, or maybe you use the disposable ones. But I had a funny story that I was on Splash Mountain with my sister in November, and we just happened to get completely soaked on Splash Mountain. We both had on cloth masks, and we got off that ride and the masks were soaked. And they kind of had a stink to them from the Splash Mountain water that I really didn't want to be inhaling in my nose the rest of the day. I was not prepared with this tip. And so we went in and we bought masks at the gift shop, and we wore new masks the rest of the trip. So Even though we had, like I said, a different mask for every day, we weren't anticipating getting wet in the middle of a ride and needing to change it. So that was something that I personally learned from my travel experience and want to impart that knowledge to you now. So pack an extra mask, especially if you've got kiddos or, it is Florida, it's a tropical climate. Every once in a while, there's a little pop-up rain shower. You never know what you might get caught in. So just pack extra masks and be prepared for that. Tip number 4 is to stay on Walt Disney World property. And I do not say that just because I'm a Disney travel agent. I truly want you to have the best experience. I always tell my clients, if you're going to Disneyland, it's a totally different experience. I could recommend some, Marriott's you could use your points at or whatever that's nearby. It's just not the same experience. With Walt Disney World, they created this in the hopes that it would allow every individual that drove through those magical welcome gates to completely leave reality behind and allow yourself to just enjoy it, be a kid again, have fun, no stress, no worries. You're not thinking about work. You're not thinking about responsibilities at home. You just get to have a wonderful time with your family, your friends, whoever it may be that you're traveling with. And so because they wanted it to be this really holistic, immersive experience, I highly recommend all my clients stay on Disney property. There are some additional perks that come with staying on property, some of which have kind of changed over the last year, but they're still bringing some additional ones back. One perk that's still going on this year is the Magical Express, which is a free transfer that takes you from the Orlando airport to your Walt Disney Resort. And then at the end of your trip, it takes you back to the Orlando airport. So you're not having to get an Uber. This is especially great for families with little kiddos because you don't have to bring car seats. You're not trying to find an Uber with a car seat or wrangle a taxi or coordinate your own shuttle or pay extra for a shuttle. That is already included in your resort stay. So that's kind of the first perk. You get off the airport, you get off the airplane, you're at the airport, your magical vacation is already starting. You hop on the Magical Express, you've got a Disney cast member handling your luggage, you're watching Disney cartoons on the drive to the resort. Like, it has begun. You are feeling the magic, right? Another perk is that all the transportation around the parks and resorts is also included with your stay on property. So once you get to your resort, you can take a bus to Magic Kingdom. You can take a bus to another resort. If you have dinner nearby, you can hop on the monorail and head to Contemporary and enjoy a rooftop dinner and watch the fireworks, that sort of thing. All your transportation around the parks and resorts is included. So that's another big perk. Again, no need to get a rental car. You're not lugging, car seats around if you do have kiddos, anything like that. It's all included. It's all convenient. So that's another really big perk for staying on property. And then, as I mentioned before, again, that customer service, the cleanliness, the trust, it's all going to be right there. When we stayed we went in September and November of last year. So this was still in the midst of COVID and people wondering what's going on. I mean, we never had an issue with our room feeling like it was unclean. Our remotes even came, officially sealed, that they had cleaned it and sanitized it and all these different things. And every cast member was just ready and waiting to assist us and make sure that we had a magical vacation, because that's their job too. So all those cast members are there to make sure that you have a great trip, that you feel the magic. And if you need help with anything, that they are there to serve you, basically. So that's another big plus. And then one of my other favorite things about staying on Disney property, there's over 28 resorts that you can pick from on property. So regardless of if, budget is important to you, there are value resorts, and those are still a great experience, and they fit the right family or the right couple. So if budget's an issue, that's not a problem. We can still get you on property at an affordable rate. But then each category kind of increases in amenities and theme and restaurants that are on site. You might be a little bit closer to some of the parks, like one of the deluxe resorts. If convenience is really important to you, there's the Contemporary, where you can walk right into Magic Kingdom. You have your own security gate, and it just goes really quickly, really smoothly. You are out of your room and in the park 5 minutes, maybe, So I always try to talk to my families or my clients that I'm working with and see what's most important to them. Is it budget? Then let's look at value. Is it the proximity to the parks? Okay, let's look at some on the monorail or maybe on the new Skyliner transportation system. Is it theme? Are you looking for something with a really awesome pool? You know, maybe you're not going to go to the theme parks every single day. You want that downtime because side note, you are going to walk a lot in the parks. I think we average usually about 6 to 7 miles a day. So somebody jokingly said, tell people to get on a treadmill before they go on their trip. You may not need to go to that extreme, but I do tell people to wear good walking shoes because they underestimate how many steps you will put in on a Disney vacation. So a lot of times we try to build in a buffer, maybe do a couple days at the park, you take a day off, you hang out at the pool, you relax, go to the spa, and then you hit another couple parks at the end of it. So if a pool is important, then there's a lot of recommendations I have for that. I have almost stayed at every single resort on property. I've got a few more on my bucket list to cross off. But I say that because, again, I feel like I have a pretty good idea of if a family says, oh, we really love, feeling like we're in Florida and a really beachy theme, that sort of thing, then I've got a handful of resorts I can recommend too for that. If they want a really unique experience, probably one of my favorites is Animal Kingdom Lodge. We can wake up and brew our coffee and step out onto our porch and see giraffes eating at the tree right outside of our balcony. That's not something that you get to do every day. So kind of depending on what's important to you will help tailor my recommendations as to where I think would be a good place for you to stay. But there are a lot of choices, all spectrums of price, all spectrums of, elegance or amenities and that sort of thing. Again, some of them do have a spa on property. So we went one year over Mother's Day and we didn't even go to the parks. Like we just focused on food and pampering. I spent 2 days at the spa. It was phenomenal. Highly recommend that if you need to de-stress after the last year. Alrighty, so tip number 3 is to get the memory maker. Pre-COVID, I would have said, I go about 50-50 recommending memory maker to my clients. It's a nice perk, it's convenient, sure, sometimes they do some fun stuff. Is it necessary if you're looking to save a little bit of money? Nah, you can make do, that sort of thing. But when we went in November, we did do the Memory Maker package, which is $169, and that allows you unlimited photo downloads from any PhotoPass photographer that you see in the parks. It also automatically loads any images that are taken on attractions. So if you're on the Tower of Terror and they get a picture of you screaming your head off or of grandma screaming her head off on this, you can save that memory forever and download it. And it's all included, whether you take 5 photos or 500 photos, it is the exact same price. But the reason that I recommend this right now is because with a lot of the new COVID protocols, people are keeping their 6 feet distance, yay. And we didn't really want to be handing our phone to people, like even cast members, to say, hey, will you take our picture? Hey, will you take our picture? We didn't want to be passing around our phones and spreading germs. So so I highly recommend Memory Maker right now. It's so convenient. They just scan. If you have a Magic Band, the PhotoPass photographer will scan your Magic Band. It's automatically registered when you go on rides. And that is $169 for your family, unlimited photo downloads. Yep. So that's a really great deal. Again, if you are big picture takers and you want that iconic photo in front of the castle or, that sort of thing, highly recommend that right now. Again, just if more than anything, so that you're not having to pass your phone around and you can get everybody in the picture. So speaking of phones, tip number 2 is to invest in a good portable charger. Even before COVID, I would use a lot of my battery because there is an app for Walt Disney World where you can check wait times, you can look at restaurant menus, you can look at park maps, you can do all sorts of stuff on the mobile app, right? Even unlock your resort door. So it is truly kind of an all-inclusive thing here. And plus you're taking photos, you want to snap the picture of the castle, we saw Mickey at breakfast, we want to take a picture. You're just constantly using your phone on vacation, right? So even if I put it in battery reserve, I typically was always running out of battery. So I highly recommend the investing in a portable charger. They used to have rechargeable, refillable fuel rod stations around the Walt Disney parks. That was a big thing about 1.5 2 years ago. But then since we've been back, since they reopened after COVID, we have not seen those rechargeable stations. I'm guessing because there's no real way to sanitize them once they've been returned and recharged and then get passed back out. So if you were familiar with fuel rods, those are no longer really a thing. So just, you can get them off of Amazon, 20, 30 bucks. And then obviously you can use it even beyond your Disney vacation. You can use it wherever, whenever, but highly recommend investing in a portable charger. Now with COVID, again, on that app, they do encourage a lot of the quick service restaurants to do mobile order. So you place your order right on your phone, you pay through the mobile app on your phone, and then they send you a text message notification or a notification through the app, depending on how you have that set up, when your food is ready or when your drink order is ready or that sort of thing. So they're really trying to do a lot right now that's contactless in terms of exchanging money, in terms of being face-to-face with cast members and guests and that sort of thing. So you will be using your phone a lot. Again, we checked wait times a lot when we were there. We used the app for that. Previously, you might be familiar with the term Fast Pass, which we used to make those reservations in advance, and then you could get on the app and get some more throughout the day. Again, since reopening with COVID, those have temporarily been suspended at Walt Disney World Resort. But because there is reduced capacities in the parks, it really hasn't been a big problem in terms of wait time. When we were there in September, I think for the most part, we waited between 5 and maybe 25 minutes for most things. When I was there in November, I think the longest we waited was for one ride, and it was the Flight of Passage of Avatar, which is historically going to be a long wait. And we waited about an hour, which again, really isn't bad. Even with Fast Pass, it was usually longer than that. So even though you won't be getting on and getting fast passes, you'll probably be checking wait times, kind of looking at park maps, seeing where you want to go next, that sort of thing. So all that to say that you're going to want a portable phone charger if you want to use your phone by the end of the day. So that is tip number 2 for you. And then last but not least, tip number 1 is to use a travel agent. Surprise. And again, I'm not just saying that because I'm a Disney travel agent. Even if you don't work with me, if you know somebody else who is a Disney specialist, work with them, but do find somebody who is a specialist in Disney vacations, because there's a lot that you don't know when it comes to planning a Walt Disney World vacation. And a lot of that really only comes with experience. So like right now, park passes are a new thing since opening with COVID. They want you to basically, it's kind of like a dining reservation, or again, if you're used to fast passes, it might be more similar to be thinking of it like an old fast pass. But basically you get online and you book which days, and you say, okay, I'm going to be at Magic Kingdom on Thursday the 18th, and I'm going to be at Animal Kingdom on Friday the 19th, and then you're good to go. So that's something that's brand new. And if people haven't done that yet, or they're not familiar with it, if they forget to tell you to do that, you literally are not allowed into the park without a park pass reservation, even if you have paid for a valid theme park ticket. So it's kind of important, even though it's new. A theme park ticket does not guarantee you entry right now. So you have to make those park pass reservations. So kind of the first step that I do with my clients after we find the right resort and we build the right package for them and make sure we have memory maker and anything else that they want in that vacation package. The first thing I say is, okay, let me help you get set up in My Disney Experience if you don't have an account already, or if you do and you may not know it. How many people have been watching Disney Plus like crazy over the last year? Surprise, your Disney Plus login will also work on the My Disney Experience account. So any Disney login that you have will equate to the other Disney accounts. So it's that same login. So even if you've never been to Walt Disney World before, or you don't think you have a Disney account, you might have a Disney account. So I help them get that set up, because we've got to get every individual person in your travel party linked up as family and friends. We link up that reservation so that it shows in your My Disney account exactly where you're staying, what dates you're there, and then from there we can make your park pass reservations. For fun legal reasons that I will not go into extensively, I cannot make the park pass reservations for you, but I give my clients screenshots, step-by-step instructions to make it as smooth as possible for them, to make sure that they know that they have to do that for every day that they want to enter the park. So then from there, The next thing that we kind of plan in our planning milestones is dining reservations. So while some things have been modified, some restaurants still aren't open, there are a lot of things that are operating still, and a lot of really great restaurants. So I kind of talk to my families and my clients and see how many reservations they want to make a day. If they're very type A planner type people like my sister, we're probably going to do 2 to 3 reservations a day because we don't want the kids getting cranky. So we want breakfast at 8, we want lunch at 12, and we want dinner at 5:30 or that sort of thing. If you're more of a flexible, oh, let's see how we feel. Oh, if we, maybe one a day, that kind of thing. I do recommend getting about one a day just because some of these really great dining experiences will fill up. And Disney is incredible food. Like the chefs there are awesome. So I used to work at Citrico's in the Grand Floridian. And while I was there, I got to meet the head chef at our restaurant. But then right next to us is Victoria and Albert's, which is a 5-diamond AAA restaurant. I mean, like Joey Fatone and all these celebrities were going in there, and we could see them from our restaurant and that sort of thing. So I got to meet some really, really amazing chefs. I got to meet the pastry chef that did all the wedding cakes on property. So if you guys are fans of Disney fairy tale weddings, I got to meet the cake maker, which was so incredible. But again, all that to say that Disney is known for food. It's not your typical, fair food, or again, Worlds of Fun, hot dogs on a stick, or anything like that. Like, it is quality, amazing food. So highly recommend making dining part of your vacation experience. Again, even if you don't think you want to do 3 meals a day, totally fine. I recommend usually about 1 a day, whether we do like a character breakfast or brunch, or we do a nice dinner somewhere. There's some really great dining experiences that I think just really add to the overall experience. Plus, it's kind of nice to know that you'll have that dedicated time to sit in a chair, drink some water, recuperate. Because like I said, you're going to be walking a lot of steps those days. So I kind of help plan out dining recommendations. I usually send over a few of my favorites. But then I always like to get to know my families. If you're big steak eaters, then let's look for, I'll recommend a good steakhouse. Or if you're very simple eaters and you don't like spice or anything crazy, then we'll stick to the more American style menus and not go too crazy when you're in Epcot and eating all over the world and that sort of thing. So I really love to help with dining reservations. And a perk of working with me, I can't speak for all Disney agents, but as part of my complimentary services, I get up and get on when dining reservations open at 60 days prior to arrival at 5 a.m. in the morning. So I am up bright and early. If you are not a morning person, I have a lot of clients tell me this is their favorite thing about working with me, is that I will get up and get them those dining reservations at 5 a.m. And so again, if I didn't mention it before, my services are complimentary as long as I book the vacation. So there's kind of this, well, why not go with a travel agent then? Even if you are a Disney fan and you've been before, or you go every year, you've never been. I mean, no matter what your knowledge level is, I highly recommend that you still work with a travel agent, again, because it's free. I don't charge anything for my services. It doesn't cost you anything extra booking through an agent versus through the Disney website on your own. And then you just know that you're supporting a small business. And I really appreciate it. Oh, and the other thing that I do is that I create a customized itinerary for my families. So again, kind of based on all my tips and tricks and shortcuts and that sort of thing, I put together a little itinerary that goes day by day of which park you're going to be at, what the hours are, what special things you should know about that park, where my favorite snack stops are. I'm a big snack eater when I'm in Disney, so I joked that I have a favorite ice cream place. And I mean, when we were on the college program, we would even joke that we had favorite water fountains. I mean, it was like, that's how much we went and we tried everything. So I always put in some of my favorites, some of my recommendations. Again, if you're traveling with kiddos, I'll put height requirements in there on all the attractions so that you know whether or not your kiddos are going to be able to ride certain rides. And I also put in instructions about Disney rider swap service. So again, if you do have kids, there's a really unique service that kind of cuts down on your wait time that I give instructions about that you can take advantage of if, let's say, that one of your kiddos isn't tall enough to ride, but the other one is. Who waits and how do you split up and how does that all work? So those are just a few examples of kind of how I help my clients and what I enjoy doing. It truly is the best part of my day to talk about Disney. So whenever people say, oh, I'd love to, talk to you about this, or we're thinking about going, I mean, I already have people talking to me about going in 2024. So it's like people want something to look forward to, especially right now, and especially a Disney vacation. I know that for some people, it's a once in a lifetime experience. And so I want to just kind of help be an extension of that. And again, I have some clients that go every year and it's just kind of old hat and they let me do my thing and it's no big deal. So again, no matter where you are on the spectrum, if you've never been, you go all the time, that sort of thing, I would still love to help. I can be as involved as much or as little as you want me to be in terms of helping with plans and reservations and itineraries and that sort of thing. And I think the biggest part is that, again, it's free as long as I book the vacation, and I'm kind of just your personal resource. So instead of scouring mom blogs or Facebook groups or, just Googling something, it's like, you can just ask me a question and I'm happy to give you a response and an answer. And I might give you, well, here's what I would do, but here's maybe what a client in a similar situation did. Because I think the biggest thing that I've learned over the last 4 years of having my business is that I really have to be focused on what's best for my client and not what I would necessarily do on vacation. So that's something that I really do try to keep in mind. What would be best for you and how we can make it magical, even if it's not, where I would eat or where, maybe what you would do. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. But again, I love talking Disney. So I think we've left some time for questions if anybody would like to ask.
I'll ask a question.
Yeah.
So my niece and her family are planning on going in October. And so I was going to go with my daughter, who will be 9 at the time. And so she's using someone like you, but in Oklahoma, because that's where they live. And so they sent me the information about going ahead and reserving our room. But the quote, and I haven't talked to this person yet, but the quote that they gave me was something like 3,000 whatever for like a week visit from a Saturday to a Saturday, like $3,600. But I don't know, is that per person or is that for 2 people? I mean, I don't know.
If she quoted it as a package, it should be for everybody traveling in your party.
Got it.
That would sound about right, depending on where you're staying. But
The
yeah, I would guess
Caribbean-
that that's a total package price.
Yeah, the Caribbean Beach Resort is what they're looking at. And then, okay, so not including airfare, obviously, but that includes all the transportation, like you said, visit to any of the parks, that's all included, or what do we pay separately on top of that? I mean, do we have to pay for individual parks or is that just for staying there?
Depends on if the quote included tickets.
Okay.
So if it included park tickets, then you'd be covered there. If it was just the room, then that would be an additional cost. But at that price point at Caribbean Beach, I would guess you've got tickets in that package.
Okay. So what would be a typical spend for a week time? I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's always a tough question. That's kind of like, how much is a car? Because I've planned a Disney vacation for a family of 4, for a week for, again, around $3,000, and I've planned one for about $10,000. So then there's anywhere in between. The biggest factor when it comes to price on a Disney vacation package is definitely the resort that you pick.
Okay.
Ones like the Grand Floridian and those in the deluxe category are going to be quite a bit higher per night. Those in the value or the moderate, which Caribbean Beach is in the moderate. So I would guess that would be about reasonable for a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it did say, as I looked at it, it did say 5-day ticket with admission to 1 park per day.
Yep. So you'd have, 5 days. Basically what that means then is that once you select which park you enter that day, then you can't go anywhere else. So like if you scan your ticket, you go into Magic Kingdom, you are in Magic Kingdom for the whole day. There's an extra option that you can pay for that allows you to go to another park later in the day. They call that park hopping. So if you add that on for an additional price, then you do have that ability. Otherwise, you are in 1 park for the day.
Does it matter if the ticket, so originally I'm taking over my nephew's spot. He and his wife were going to go. They don't have any kids, but now they're kind of backing out. So it says the price is quoted as 2 adults. Does it matter? Are the kids' tickets the same as an adult, or is there a price break differently for kids?
They are less if they are between the ages of 3 and 10.
Great. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you talk a little bit about Run Disney trips, and do you schedule Run Disney trips and help?
I do actually. I love Run Disney. So I have my background on, but if you couldn't see my background, I've got my medals all hanging over here on the side in my office.
Oh, I love it.
So yeah, I'm a big Run Disney fan. I've done the Goofy Challenge, the Wine and Dine. We did Coast to Coast when they were still doing them at Disneyland. So big fan. Obviously this year has been a little bit different, but I will say that last January in 2020 January was one of my biggest months because I had a running group that all did the Dopey and Goofy Challenge, that marathon weekend in January. And it was really great because if you work with a travel agent like myself, we can actually help you pre-book the bibs in your package with your room and your tickets ahead of time. So then you're not scrambling to get on as soon as they open, like those early days. If you're a DVC member or something, sometimes you get those a few days early. But when they open to the general public, it's like a mad frenzy. And sometimes certain races are already sold out and that sort of thing. So I do help people with Run Disney events. We can pre-book, like I said, the room, the ticket, anything else you want in that package along with your bibs so that you've got that all good to go. Again, we do that ahead of time before it's released to the public. So you already know, hey, I've got my bib. I don't have to get up and get on in that frenzy. And then what they do is Run Disney will send you a confirmation email around the day or the day after that it's been released to the public, but your bib has already been reserved. So it's great peace of mind. Yes, I can help with that. Yes, I love Run Disney. So hi, Andrew. I saw your chat, Catherine.
That's awesome. So I've done, pretty much everything. Was scheduled for Dopey this year and did part of it virtually, which was not as much fun. But we're all really hopeful for 2022. And I think it's going to be crazy because so many people have been kind of bummed about the virtual. So that's good to know that you get kind of a jump.
I've got a couple people already in waiting for the January marathon again, and then the Princess in February. So we're keeping an eye on it. We're hopeful that they're not going to be virtual this year.
I think everybody is.
Yes. So there was a question in the chat. What is your favorite hotel to stay in? Right now, my favorite is the Riviera Resort. It is brand new. It just celebrated its 1 year in November, but it is an absolutely stunning resort. It is in the deluxe category, and I'd say it's in the moderate to higher end of deluxe. But it is beautiful hotel. It's modeled kind of after the European Riviera type of it was inspired by Walt's travels to Europe. So it has a very sophisticated feel, I guess, in that sort of way. But then at the same time, it's very whimsical because they have included a lot of little nods and touches through artwork and detailing on the fences. And there's this really beautiful waterfall, like mosaic that they have that's inspired by Tangled and Peter Pan and Snow White and Cinderella. So it beautifully pairs like elegance and Disney. And it's my favorite right now. It's got a great pool. It's got a great restaurant on the rooftop. It's got bocce on the lawn. You can see the water. You can hop on the Skyliner. It's convenient. If budget is not an issue, that is where I recommend you stay. So the Disney characters are not at the resorts typically. The only exceptions to that are if you have a character dining location that happens to be in a resort. So Riviera, again, for example, they have a restaurant called Topolino's Terrace, and it does have a character breakfast. So, which is, again, amazing, by the way. So if you eat breakfast up there, you will see Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Daisy, and they are all in artist attire. So Donald's a sculptor, Mickey's a painter, Daisy's a ballerina, and I don't remember what Minnie is now. but they're all attending art school. That's their story for this character breakfast. So you'll see them there, but they won't be wandering around the resorts. Similar thing, Chef Mickey in the Contemporary Resort has characters right now, but they are restricted to the restaurant. They do not walk around the resort. The exception to that would be Aulani. You can find characters just wandering around the property of Aulani because it's just a little bit different experience. The resort is kind of the whole park experience, right? So you might be on the lawn and you see Stitch is kind of one of their big ones right now. You can meet Moana. They've got Mickey in his little Hawaiian shirt, which is super cute. So yes, Aulani would be the exception, but around Walt Disney World and that sort of thing, there are not characters just wandering around and hanging out at the resorts.
Can you talk about some of the signature dining? Like I've done the Cinderella's royal table with the little dessert party. What are some other options like that?
Yeah. So the signature dining, for those that aren't familiar with the term, is just kind of an elevated experience when it comes to dining. So like I said, the chefs are incredible, the food's incredible. These signature dining experiences just kind of take it up a notch. So one of them that she mentioned was Cinderella Royal Table. So that's where you can actually dine in the castle. It's really great, especially if you get a table near the window, you can kind of see out into the park. Right now, Cinderella still does make an appearance. Typically, there used to be a few more princesses there, but right now it's just Cinderella. Another one of my favorites is, again, I'm kind of partial, but Citrico's in the Grand Floridian. Every time somebody would come to visit me, like family and friends on the college program, we always went there. I always went back every time we went to visit. It's just a really great customer service experience. If any of you are familiar with, if you've eaten at Capitol Grill here on the plaza, I'd say that's like the closest thing that I can use to describe to like what the service is like at some of these places, where it's just refreshing and it's attentive and it's just, again, it's just up a level, right? So they'll do things like an amuse-bouche before you start your meal, or sometimes they'll bring out suggested wine pairings with it. If you're a Grand Floridian guest, they usually also give you a little gift at the end. It used to be homemade biscotti. I don't know what they're doing right now because I know the chef did leave this last year. So I don't know if they're still doing his recipe of biscotti or not, but so again, there's just these little kind of surprise and delight things that they'll do with the signature dining. Another great one at the Grand Floridian is Narcoossee's. That's the one that's like right on the water. It's got about 360 views of all just windows. It's a round restaurant, which is really cool. Excellent seafood, steak, surf and turf, that kind of thing. And if you time it right, you can usually see the fireworks and or the electrical water parade, which is really fun. And then the new one, I would say Topolino Terrace in the Riviera. The dinner is a completely different experience than the breakfast. So the breakfast is very fun, it's lively, it's got the characters, that sort of thing. But the dinner is much more of that refined signature experience. You still have those beautiful rooftop views. You can see, again, if and when Epcot brings back their nighttime spectacular, you'll probably be able to see that from there as well. Our daughter just turned 2. What is your opinion on the best age to take your kiddo to Disney for the first time? Oh, I love this question. Okay, so sorry, I don't know if everybody could see that. So she said, our daughter just turned 2. What is your opinion on the best age to take a kiddo to Disney for the first time? I actually have a whole blog post on this because I get this question a lot. And again, I'm partial because I run on pixie dust. So my son was 4.5. He turned 5 months when we were on our trip. So he was 5 months old when we took him the first time. And I always joked that he will never remember that, but that was not the point of that trip. That trip was for Mama to see his face on It's a Small World, and I will never forget that. No, I think 2 is a super good age, especially because, as I mentioned before, they are free under the age of 3. So you start paying for a ticket at 3 to 10, it's one price, and then 10 and older, it's another price. So they're still free. So I'm kind of like, what have you got to lose? Again, it's more for you at that point than it is for them. Definitely stick to Magic Kingdom. There's a lot of attractions that they can ride with you in Magic Kingdom. A lot of them that are slow moving. They don't have, seatbelt restraints or anything like that. They just sit on your lap and love all the sounds and the colors and the rides and that sort of thing. I have this amazing picture of my son at about 8 months old. seeing Donald Duck for the first time when we did a character dining experience, and it was priceless because Donald was his favorite at the time. And I mean, his eyes were huge and his jaw dropped, and I just caught this iconic photo of him doing that. So again, I always say, again, if budget's not an issue, that's always one thing. I get that not everybody can go every single year. But I think 2 is a really great age because they're very interested in colors and sounds and noises and music and different things. And they probably have, if you let them watch things like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and Disney Junior, they probably start to recognize some of these characters. And again, they're free. So that's always a perk. It really doesn't cost you anything extra to take them at that age. And I will say, I mean, every time we've taken my son, it just gets better and better. And now he sees commercials for Disney and he's like, when do we get to go there? so, you know, brainwash him young, but I think that there is no wrong age to take your kid to Disney. They're never too old. They're never too young. Even if your first time going is at 18, I mean, I still act like I'm a little kid skipping down Main Street every time I go. So the point of Disney is to feel like a kid at heart. So there's never a bad age to take your kids to Disney, is my opinion. Great question.
How early do you need to plan a trip?
That's an excellent question, actually. I'm a planner, so again, kind of one of those type A's. So I always say the sooner the better, especially to start the conversation, because again, there's a lot of things to consider for a family or clients that haven't been in a while or haven't been ever. Deciding on a resort is just, you know, kind of a big task in and of itself. So the sooner the better. I mean, we can book reservations up to 500 days out right now. So we're already booking into 2022. About July 1 right now is as far out as we can get. But it's not required. So again, if we were having this conversation a year ago, I'd say we'd need to have something on the books at least 6 months before you want to go, if you want to have an exceptional time. It's not really the case right now because they've switched dining reservations from 120 days to just 60 days prior to arrival. So that saves us quite a bit of time. And then without the fast pass reservations right now, there's not as much advanced planning. I don't know what was in the water, but last September, I had about 3 people reach out and we planned their trip literally 2 days before they left town. They were like, hey, flights are cheap. We want to go. We heard crowds are low. We heard wait times are low. What can you get us? So I literally had 2 different clients in September that we planned their trip within about 2 or 3 days of their departure. I don't typically recommend that, but they were not first time goers. They kind of understood the plan. They weren't, you know, hell's-bent on getting a certain restaurant for dining reservations or that sort of thing. So right now, I mean, I always say the sooner you book, then you guarantee your availability. It's always really, really flexible. So let's say that we do put a deposit down on your vacation for, you know, March 2022 right now. And you're like, oh, well, we want to make sure that we can get into the Riviera or something. Well, great, let's go ahead and book it. You secure that availability in that room. But then let's say in December, you're like, hey, we changed our mind. We'd really love to stay on the monorail. What's available in the monorail? Well, Contemporary's not open. Do you guys want to do Polynesian? Sure. So we can move around. It's very, very flexible. Just because you've made that deposit doesn't mean that you're stuck in anything. There's no change fees. It's all just really pending availability. So if you're not super specific on which resort and which view and which type of room and getting this dining reservation, I mean, I'd say 2 months right now, we're fine. But you know, everything's pending availability. So the sooner the better. That was a long answer to a short question, but hopefully that kind of explained it. Hi, Leo. Awesome. Well, it doesn't look like there's any other questions in the chat.
Thank you very much. It's very informative.
Yeah. And again, I'm always happy to talk to people. So, you know, my website is my business, spiritofadventuretravel.com. Feel free to look me up or follow me on social, and I'd love to chat and connect with any of you guys. So appreciate the time.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.